We're examining the economic arguments of Patrick Bet-David, a prominent entrepreneur and financial commentator.
He's really stirred things up with his views.
His takes on the American economy are definitely interesting, whether you agree with them or not.
Let's explore his ideas on inflation, government spending, and immigration.
To see where he's coming from and what it all might mean.
Bet-David makes a point to put the blame for that 9% inflation peak back in June 2022 on both the Trump and Biden administrations. Claims it's all about excessive money printing.
See where this is going.
Particularly through programs like the CARES Act.
Which both administrations kept going.
Exactly.
He really goes after the Inflation Reduction Act.
He says the name is completely misleading.
And that inflation going down was more about Jerome Powell's interest rate hikes
than anything actually in the legislation itself.
Fascinating.
Now, when it comes to government spending, Bet-David's background as a CEO really shows.
Makes sense.
He thinks the government should run more like a business.
Justifying every expense.
And always aiming for a good return on investment.
Just like a company would.
He even suggests something pretty radical, firing 50% of government employees.
Whoa, that's a bold statement.
He says it would lead to more efficiency and better customer service.
He's drawing a parallel to his own time as a CEO.
Making those hard choices.
Bet-David also digs into how immigration affects the housing market.
He focuses especially on undocumented immigration.
He argues that more people needing housing drives up mortgage rates.
And that this ends up hurting low-income Americans the most.
They face even more competition to find affordable housing.
He pushes back against this idea that most immigrants come in wealthy.
Right.
Instead, he suggests they often have very limited resources.
Which puts a strain on communities that are already struggling.
It creates more competition for both jobs and housing.
Complicating things even further for those trying to make ends meet.
Bet-David highlights this basic economic principle. When the supply of something essential, like housing, stays about the same, but demand goes up, prices go up too.
Makes sense.
And he argues this is exactly what plays out in the lives of people who are struggling financially.
They end up dealing with job losses, competition for resources, and just a lower overall quality of life.
It's a tough reality.
Definitely a lot to think about.
There's no doubt about that. This really connects with a certain group of people. Those who feel like their concerns about the economy and immigration aren't really taken seriously.
Like they're being overlooked.
Exactly.
Bet-David's argument is that the government's focus on immigration has actually come at a cost to its own citizens.
And this has led to a sense of resentment and anger among those who feel left behind.
Like their needs aren't being met.
Right.
And we're seeing this reflected in the growing support for populist movements and anti-immigration rhetoric.
People are looking for leaders who will prioritize their needs and address their economic worries.
Leaders who they feel will actually listen to them.
There's no denying that Bet-David's views on immigration are controversial.
Definitely.
But they strike a chord with a segment of the population who feel unheard and marginalized by the current policies.
Like their voices aren't being represented.
Yeah.
He's faced a lot of criticism for his stance.
Oh, absolutely.
Some accuse him of fear-mongering and xenophobia.
But his supporters say he's just voicing legitimate concerns about the potential downsides of uncontrolled immigration.
Downsides that could have real impacts on American society.
And moving past the immigration debate, Bet-David's economic views also stir up strong reactions.
I can see why.
He's very vocal about his criticism of government intervention in the economy.
And a big advocate for free market principles.
He's convinced that excessive government spending and regulation actually stifle economic growth and innovation,
holding back the creation of jobs and prosperity.
In his view, the best way to boost the economy is to cut taxes and regulations.
To give businesses the space to grow and drive economic expansion.
It's a classic approach.
These views definitely align with conservative and libertarian ideologies.
Emphasizing limited government and individual liberty.
But of course, they often face pushback from those who believe government intervention is essential.
To protect workers, consumers, and the environment.
Ensuring fairness and minimizing the potential harm from unregulated market forces.
It's a classic debate.
Striking that balance.
Bet-David's viewpoints are deeply shaped by his own journey as an entrepreneur and businessman.
His experience building his own company from scratch.
Turning it into a successful enterprise.
He credits his success to hard work, determination, and the opportunities he had thanks to free market capitalism.
He's He's a true believer in the American dream.
And this experience really informs his belief in self-reliance and personal responsibility.
A message that resonates with people who aspire to achieve that same dream.
He's critical of relying on government assistance,
arguing that everyone has the potential to succeed if they put in the effort and take initiative.
It's an empowering message for some,
but it's also been subject to criticism.
Naturally.
Critics point out that systemic barriers and inequalities can make it much harder for some people to succeed,
regardless of how hard they work.
They argue that societal factors play a huge role in shaping individual outcomes.
And that focusing solely on personal responsibility oversimplifies a very complex reality.
Yeah.
So Bet David is presenting this narrative that really centers on individual agency within a free market system.
It's all about having the power to make your own choices.
He's pushing for policies that put economic freedom, individual liberty, and personal responsibility front and center.
Seeing those as the foundation for a society that's both prosperous and just.
His stance on immigration really comes from a place of concern for American citizens.
He's worried about their well-being.
He believes uncontrolled immigration could have some serious negative effects on the economy,
impacting jobs, wages, even social cohesion.
He wants immigration policies that prioritize the interests of American citizens first and foremost.
It's definitely a nationalist sentiment.
But of course, these perspectives haven't gone unchallenged.
They've definitely sparked some debate.
Some people accuse Bet David of being insensitive to the struggles of immigrants,
of pushing a nativist agenda,
one that ignores the contributions immigrants make to American society.
His supporters, though, argue that his concerns are valid,
that they come from a genuine desire to protect American workers and taxpayers,
those who might face tougher competition for jobs and resources with large-scale immigration.
It's a complex issue with no easy answers.
There are valid points on both sides.
But regardless of where you stand on these issues, Bet David's views are worth thinking about.
He forces us to step outside our comfort zones.
He challenges conventional thinking and encourages us to really examine the challenges facing our nation.
To look closely at the economic and social forces that are shaping our world.
He's offering a different perspective,
one that you don't always hear in mainstream discussions.
He's highlighting the need for a more balanced and nuanced understanding of these multifaceted issues.
Whether you agree with him or not, Bet David's voice adds something important to the conversation.
It makes it richer, more comprehensive.
He's a true thought leader,
not afraid to challenge the status quo or spark debate.
And his perspectives, whether they align with your own or not, serve as valuable starting points
for having informed discussions about the critical issues of our time.
At the end of the day, Patrick Bet David is a unique and influential voice in American economics and politics.
His thought-provoking views on inflation assisting and immigration will undoubtedly continue to generate discussion and debate
for years to come.
Until next time, goodbye.